I'm walking down the
I do want to say to Doni and many of you in this room that over a very long career in this city, all of you have helped me and my colleagues tell the truth and to try to tell.
I may not look like you and you me, but
Take my hat off.
I'm from South Carolina, so I just...
What does this event mean to you, Miss Peggy Morris?
Oh, my heart,
Happy 20th anniversary.
my heart is about loving up on my sisters. Do you know what it feels like to have your sisters in the room? Don.
And dare to be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. I am beautiful, I am blessed, but not just what you see in the flesh. I'm free from people, free from myself. There's a
The doctor lived next door to the janitor, to the reverend, and the lawyer. We were together. Now we get so high and mighty that you create stress for your society because you don't like poor black folks either. That's a health problem. Get yourself together so I can stop being taking care of geriatric people and get back to pediatrics. I thank you, Donnie, for all you've done. Let's keep doing it all the more.
letting His glory shine through. Dare to be you, dare to be me, dare to be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. And I dare you, I dare you, I dare you to be you.
First name's Donnie, last name's Glover. In it to win it for the long haul, baby. Let's bless this week with a prayer. Thank you, Lord, for another week. Bless this show to touch somebody, to heal somebody, to enlighten and inspire somebody. And we promise to give you all the praise and the glory in your name. Amen. Our guest today is the one and only Dr. Michael Zollicoffer. His daddy was my pediatrician, and he's been treating people since forever. He has a new office, and we're going to talk with him about that, as well as some of the challenges facing Black America, including the fact, as you saw in the opening, as you see every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m., when he states that we have a public health crisis in our Black community. We don't like poor Black people. Without further ado,
yes, brother.
Dr. Z. How you doing, Doc?
Johnny, baby. Good seeing you, friend. Been a while since we've been doing this, baby.
Man, glad to be in the land of the living. People dropping like flies.
Yeah, oh, don't talk about it. And last Tuesday was another one of those highlighted moments that we see what can happen. Life is fleeting. You can just be on the bridge, and next thing you're not here. And that's a heck of a statement, brother.
In the middle of the night.
In the middle of the night. And that's why you don't know when that call gonna come, baby. We don't know when that call.
187-foot drop. That's instant death.
Whoa, not necessarily instant because two people survived. All right. But hey, it's a heck of a thing to challenge yourself, people. They got lucky, but you got to be ready for every moment, and you got to live life to its fullest because you don't know when that thing is got to come. So life is short, brother. We ain't here but a short moment. We got to do all we can.
I see you got your Orioles gear on. Just last week,
right?
I saw David Rubenstein, the new owner, billionaire owner, of the new billionaire owner of the Orioles. He bought it from Angelos last Wednesday. I think they said $1.725 billion.
Billion. But it's got our boy Cal Ripken at least on there with his investment group and Grand Hill. So at least we got some folks from Baltimore really born, even though Rubenstein is a Baltimore man, City College graduate, etc. But it's incredible. But that kind of dollar flow is still it mesmerizes me. It goes back to my "we don't like poor Black people" statement. That's it. We got to look at what we continue to give billionaires and rich people, but we don't give poor people sitting in our own neighborhoods.
Doc, are we too hard on ourselves? We are 13% of the population. Now, on the negative side, Black men make up 34% of America's inmates in the most incarcerating nation on earth. Education-wise here in the state of Maryland, Baltimore City, and Prince George's County are typically and historically in a race for the bottom. We look at Black business, even though we have a Black governor, a Black attorney general, a Black treasurer, a Black mayor, a black city comptroller, a black city council president, black state's attorney.
Right.
Economically, I don't think that we control the proportionate amount of dollars, of power.
Right. You don't have the generational wealth. And that's why we always talk about it. You know, our good buddy Bob DeShields is a big advocate is reparations. I mean, and I'm telling everybody, it's still a great idea. You can never break the cataclysmic effects of slavery until you equalize an economic playing field, and we have done nothing to do that. Though we have improved to move ourselves along in a socialization context, we can go to schools that are not integrated. We can go to these situations and we're not treated in the same fashion. That is a beautiful thing sociologically, but it never came with the fiduciary that you needed to make you be able to then navigate your way. And
they tried. The Freedmen's Bank, the Homesteaders Act, they put it out there, and then they took it back.
Oh, Dad, you got what I'm going to say. You can't even holler about it. Your 40 acres and a mule went right down, ashes in the wind after Lincoln died. You see what I'm saying? If they had kept that, Donnie, I will tell you right now, if they had kept that 40 acres and a mule, we would not be in the same position that we were, because you would have had some generational wealth because land would have given it to you. You cannot break this genocide unless we get economic. And then what we did, we started turning on ourselves. So your integration is now segregated because you're not integrated anymore. Baltimore's a bunch of black folk with a poor school system. You all right, bad Dad Donnie?
you must have struck a chord with that one there. I mean, it made me think of the power in Baltimore and the power that we have, the power that we could have that we don't have.
Right, because we got our things in the wrong. That's why I say to people always say, let's get more black doctors, and it's going to help you sociologically. You're not going to change, and we can show that to be the case. You're not going to change the health of black people with black doctors, because black doctors have no power. The same thing is what we have in this city. Even though we have positions of power, we think powerless. You see, we got to change how we produce and think. We still cliched. You are culturally dominated. When you come in this culture, it starts dictating how you perform, and we perform inadequately. It's like I tell you, if I put a black man in Japan, he would speak Japanese. You would not recognize him as a black man. That is the power of what culture does to you. And it has done the thing to us where we actually turn against each other. When we get money, we may show success, but we don't permeate success back to those who have nothing behind me. My life is about giving. I can't do it any other way. And so when that
why do you care, Doc?
I care because it's the passion of all of us. I am of an animal of nature, not an animal of man. You see, so I have, and I'll say this to anybody, I metamorphosized many years ago to be moving and generated by the emotion of nature, which is equality. Nature does not murder people. Nature does not hate people. Man does. From his learned, crazy world of being culturally stimulated to move to a place that he doesn't belong. When I look at that 4-year-old baby, that's why I love pediatrics. That baby still smiles at me, loves me, no matter how wretched his home situation. But don't see that baby at 12 months. Don't see that baby at 2. He starts taking on the cadence of the societal bamboozlement that goes to all of us. And it ain't a good thing. It's about hatred. It's about dislike. And so that's why we live in a world, because we step out of step to what nature gave you, which is an inherent, innate love of people. I live that love. Every day I get out of bed, I want to be and touch a human being. I live off people. Got to give your heart, your dollars, everything I have is for someone else, not for me. When we make it, I make it. And that's what we use.
Doc, so many of us, if we were to become a medical doctor and we're able to put M.D. behind our name, we all of a sudden have moved to a different neighborhood in Park Heights. Well, oh yeah, I remember Park Heights. I remember North Avenue. I once experienced that.
That's true, Donnie.
We've arrived.
Right. Donnie, say
what's wrong with it?
I'll tell you. Let me show a people illustrated what you talk about, going to my dad at where?
Garwin Medical Center.
When was that, Donnie? I'm gonna tell you when Garwin was built, for people can hear a little Baltimore history.
I would say
1969.
78. I remember 77.
That was the 74. We built the second part of Garwin. When you go down and look at Garwin, you see two different brick colors: a gray rock in the front, Garrison and Gwynns Falls, built in 1969 by who? Black doctors. Everything in the building was black. By 74, you had two parts. You were so successful. Later lost all of that, but let's talk about that beginning. And those doctors lived in Ashburton. Those doctors lived on West Baltimore, Northwest Baltimore. Those doctors were on North Avenue with their homes and their offices. They were incorporated in a community that has lost its way now. Many factors from that, but think of the power where you went. Think of the power we gave each other. Think of the support when you walk out as the garbage man and the mayor, Smoke Ashburton, live next door to you. The doctor, the preacher. Don't worry about what infinite things they may have up and down or where everything morally or sociologically was good for them, but they, no matter what, good or bad, were incorporated in your neighborhood. What has happened to us, Donnie?
We've moved. We've integrated. We have a 55-year exodus out Liberty Road.
That's a mess. So do you like poor people, black people? Because you left them. When you take your power from those, then the underpowered, the underserved gets put into a position they cannot survive.
Doc, we wanted better schools, we wanted grass lawns, and we wanted a white picket fence.
There you go. And that was not where you lived. That is not.
Black women ain't moving to Sandtown.
There goes straight. Ain't nobody. Sandtown has an exodus, not an influx. We are all a suburban sprawl. We believed it. And don't get me wrong, who wouldn't want great things? But when you can't forget to lead people, we are in this world together, not as a solo act. This will always be a team act and a we act. But when I have to instill it to you, you lose it. It should be innately in your being never to step forth from those who need. And when you got it, give it. And not all the times when we give it, it's given in the right fashion. Sometimes it's for prestige, it's for celebration. You go back and get innately into the love that's been born into you, like that 4-month-old baby that smiles at me every time I look at it. And it still fascinates me 40 years into it, because I can't see it everywhere. So I always said it's a health problem. I'm trying to get my physicians to stop worrying about a strep throat, worried about a broke. Worried about a female that's got 3 babies and 3 daddies, and she's still beholden to them. I have to empower that woman not to worry about whether she got a hangnail or not. Yeah, I can take care of a medical problem, but your main problem sociologically is the stress that this nation puts upon all of us. This nation itself called America, and it's coming to roost. Yeah, the chickens that come over to roost. It's killing us. It is killing us, whether good or bad. You can have money or not. That stress is killing us. And don't talk about a person who is socioeconomically depraved. He's already in a death spiral. He can't even get out.
Tell me about the food. Tell me about the food deserts, Doc.
Oh, the food deserts are again an overstatement that is much more emotional. Let me say some people, and I go against most folk about this. Those little corner stores, even though we had some markets, have kept us alive. They may be charging you more, but this whole food desert situation is getting into the nutritional complexities that doctors are throwing upon you that is not always correct. Hell, I can live off some daggone Utz potato chips for 20 years if I wanted to. Am I be the most healthiest man in the world? Maybe not. But guess what? I will survive because calories are your number one. But should we then destroy the world that we have left without having a centralized market? No, it should get there. But that desert itself is an overplay in words to again excuse us from doing what it needs to do, is bringing up the social condition of that neighborhood. Oh, it's a food desert. What we going to just put a market there? You can't put a market there when I didn't raise the socioeconomic condition. Those people can go into the market. When I change your condition, you change. Let me say something, folks. Go do your studies. Go look at East Lake in Atlanta, who had murder rates out the wazoo. When the white folk who came in and did a good thing changed the infrastructure and put middle class doctors and created what we said earlier about the Garwin experiment, The whole world came up. What happened? I changed their social economic condition, health problem, and made the neighborhood become one. Reading scores went up. Kids graduated. They didn't carjack it. Still to this day, the effect is there because I changed the community. I changed the narrative. I changed the culture. You got to change the culture, people. You can't keep putting a Band-Aid on a cancer that has long been metastasized. Come on, wake up, folks. It ain't your market, it's your life.
Tell me more about East Lake in Atlanta. This is it's on the east side of downtown Atlanta.
It's the same place the PGA does their championship golf, the BMW, every year. So they have a nice place that night an influx of money. You then put a elderly, middle class people back in to help nurture the community as we once had. So that in East Lake, now they call them purposeful communities. They put them all over the country, but you can't always recreate that design, you see. But if you look at that, that was a success. Now, sure, you may have displaced some people that were problematic or what have you. They're going to be negative. There's no real 100% cure that has no critique to it. But as a whole community effort, you change a community that had murders out there, let's just say 300 a year, went down to less than 10. How did that change, people? Not that you didn't just stop the murders, because that should not be your benchmark as we put it so much here in Baltimore. It's the success of the community. The murders come down with that success.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Look, we got all of these. We got blacks in position. We had a black speaker of the House.
Ain't that
I remember when Mike Bush was the speaker, or when Mike Miller was the president of the Senate. Black politicians got dogged. Yes. Only Joe Carter Conway, I remember, really stepping to Mike Miller and treating him like the sucker he was. But yeah, because he bullied black elected officials. But we got all of these blacks in position now, and I'm just hearing a lot of this, a lot of rhetoric.
You hear a lot of the thing of the what I call the woke mentality. The internet has not only affected young people, it's affected even those in power. You're motivated by saying, I want to be liked and not being a person that wants to be fixed. You know, when we come to fix stuff, we don't need to like them. Even the things that we went up, that people went against, what were you talking about, Jill Carter? She didn't want this incarceration of young children, and she's correct. I don't care if the whole world went against her. Guess what? You need to do it on the pre-side, not the post-side. You got me? You get a child changed by changing his environment, home and school, to make him be what we were. You would not find a 12-year-old carjacking anybody in 1970. It wouldn't have been the thought process. Your booty would have been whipped. The reason you do it now, because you have no inherent discipline in the school system, and you have none at your home. Some of the same problems we talk about now are already in the household. House breeds stuff, and you know I'm telling the truth, because who walked in the Carver and took their son with a gun? Mama and daddy went out to help the child pistol whip somebody? You don't think you don't have social deterioration? That to me has not been highlighted enough. It should be talked about every day. I talk about it in the office every day. I teach young NPs and PAs and doctors social logical function. I do not push the medicine as much as you have to tell in that rooms when you want an exam with a patient, change their mentality. Case in point, so people can hear me. Young black girl, 3 babies, 3 daddies. No job. Other day she came into the office because I put her assignment. The other day, you better have a job when you come back in here. That wasn't about the children. Because I know if I change her socioeconomic condition, she has then a strength over those fathers. She has a strength over her children. Guess what? She came back down and she just said, I can't wait to tell you, Dr. Z. I said, what you got, baby? I got a job, like you told me. I went to the post office. I got a job, baby. And every day she comes there, I said, and you're going to keep that job. When she comes in sick, I make sure she put the right paperwork. I said I didn't worry about her sickness. I worried about her weight in society, because that's what dictates her health. When I take the stress off and I take her to make good decisions in her life, when I give her a chance to pay her own bills and have control of her existence, her health changes. It changes, Donnie. And that's not what's happening. That's not happening in total health care. That's not happening out here in our federally qualified health centers that have been a negative, not a panacea for black folk. Garwin was your cure, and you don't have a Garwin anymore.
All right, you said I can ask you anything. Are we
Baby,
too heavily
anything.
invested?
Help, anything. What'd you say?
Too heavily invested in the Democratic Party?
I really don't think that's the case. I think that's a nice cliche thing to say right now. I think the Democratic Party has the vices and the thought process that we need. I think the Democratic Party, when they've pulled themselves up, they suffer right now. The main dynamic is the woke mentality. The woke mentality is you have a yes to everything. You can't yes everything. You can learn to accept people of all walks of life, gay, transgendered, black, white, poor, rich. That can be done, but you can't be without critiquing some systems we put in place. I had a conversation last night. What did Black Lives Matter get us? You don't hear anybody talk about it much no more because they took all your money and don't do a damn thing. They don't come in here and help these 13-year-olds carjacking, do they? But you lost Aunt Jemima off your syrup bottle. And I firmly told you don't need that. You took Uncle Ben and gave him a new bow tie, and then you took him off the box of rice. You don't even have nothing to talk about now. All I got is Pearl Mill or my goddamn syrup and pancake box, but I ain't got no power. That's what I'm trying to tell you. The Democratic Party becomes its own worst enemy because you start not critiquing what you need to critique. You need to be a person for everybody. For me, and people know I love Joe Biden. Most of us don't have enough brain cells to evaluate governmental systems anyway. So I need a leader, and a leader has to have a moral value. Damn sure ain't going to tell me it's Trump and the Republican chaos. I mean, come on. Whether black people, the Democrats done put us down. Well, son, what's your choice in this system when we created Trump? For a black man to vote for Trump, you're a blasphemous. You better get up your NAACP card. Give me a break, brother. And I don't care whose foot I'm stepping on. I will step all over you because you can't win the argument. You can't touch me. No, the Democratic Party is your best savior. And Biden has done it. Because let me tell you something, Don. Let me put one more thing in there. Your people don't understand. They put in your head. The number one problem is the bamboozlement you do in these schools where kids are unprepared even to graduate, to go to kindergarten, let alone go to college. But you got everybody on a pre-college check in Baltimore City schools. Stupid. They need to be on a vocational track so they can get out and get a blue-collar job because that's the aptitude that we do. When a 12th grader graduated with a 3rd grade or 4th grade reading average, he can't go to college, and that's the majority of them. So why put pre-college in front of you? And then when you go to college, the cost is so high. When you graduated, you're crippled and put into poverty so much because you got to pay back a $100,000 bill. You get out and you got $1,000 a month working at McDonald's. How you going to survive, Donnie? That's why you see them so still living with their mamas. We have a system, as I'm telling you, that has to change its okayness and its wokeness to move us into a place. That bill is big time. And who fixed that bill? Biden. Biden would have everybody be free from school debt, but you stopped him Supreme Court-wise, so he found every loophole he could to give some black folk a chance at being free from school debt that gives you a chance to get into social economic power. Come on, people. We're preaching the wrong thing and have the wrong cures. Wake up, because most of you talking from the side of your neck because you don't have knowledge. If you want to talk about something that don't work, get knowledge first. Open your mind. But some of you can't do it if I have a poor educational status. So me as a moral person who can lead a nation, who can lead a community, has to go out and do the right thing for folk. That's what I do, Donnie. Every day in the room, I try to change it because healthcare is cured in my office, as you well know, because I keep everybody there, rich or poor. You come through that door, I don't look for nothing. I dare to give to my heart. If you ain't got nothing, I'm still giving you your help. I'm going to give you your treatment. I am not looking for anything. That's love, baby. That's community, baby. That's Garwin Medical Center.
What about bike lanes?
Bike lanes are the craziest damn thing that ever existed. Now, I have no problem about health, but to go back and rubber stamp these bike lanes through each neighborhood when some of them didn't want them is incredible. North Avenue is a joke now. Heck, I don't even know how to get down North Avenue anymore. Come on, man. You got more places for a bus and a bike. Ain't no black people riding no bike. Now, you could have done that in Roland Park. Have fun, brother. But
no, they didn't want it. They said, hell no.
Yeah, and what they did, they scrambled out that line and went, didn't they? Ain't nobody on North Avenue. That's what I'm saying. We may not, as a people, galvanize ourselves to put a major protest about that, but we should. So who should be looking out? That mayor, the black one you talk about. And not just talking about Brandon, I'm talking about all of them, okay? The state's attorney, the city council presidents. You got to look out for this. Say this, whether the people say no or not, This ain't right for North Avenue people. I can't wait for the people. The people don't always have enough knowledge to do anything. That's what's going to happen to Harbor Place. You done rubber stamp Harbor Place to put that commercialization there, and you may not be able to pull it off because then you put it on a referendum. What happens on referendums, Donnie? You know the deal. Now, folks don't know what they're voting for. They just check yes. Yes, you rubber stamp it.
Yeah, like the new bill that came on for term limits, because
yes,
as hard and as long as it took us to get blacks in the citywide office, to get blacks elected, going back to Judge Joe Howard and some of those early blacks.
Right.
Now you saying, okay, you can only be there 2 terms. Now here's the crazy part.
Right.
It was pushed on us by Fox and by people like Euripsy Morgan, who don't look like you or I.
Right.
Kind of the same thing that when they had question P, which changed the 3-member city council districts to single-member districts, and we lost about 9% of our black representation on the city council. So we have power, and then somebody comes along and tricks us out of our power.
That's what I'm saying, Donnie. You just found another example of what I'm talking about. I think certain places term limits do have a place. I think the Supreme Court should not be packed with a conservative body that stays there for life. I think you have to look at what you're bringing. But a council who was elected by the people should continue to be for the people, no matter if it's 50,000 people. Can it become a problem? Yes, but long as we do things to help that which is underserved, that is a positive. So everything, a term limit is not needed. But daggone it's needed in that Supreme Court, because that's what's killing us right now. Roe versus Wade return. How 40 years later, you say something against the same thing you voted for in the same court. Was it a wrong decision the first time? No, it was the correct decision. Give people right to do what they want with their bodies. It's a wrong decision to put people in harm's way, which we have now. People are dying every day or trying to find inopportune situations to get health care because your state won't provide supportive things for an abortion or a termination. That's a bad decision. You see what I'm saying?
Doc, I got to go back to this food thing.
Back to the food.
What do we make of the food being served in the supermarkets? I'm thinking about breasts of chicken. A breast of chicken these days is about as big as my arm.
Right.
A chicken wing looks more like a pterodactyl wing. What's going on, and what's it doing to us?
Now, those things, let me put it into a situation. Sure, we know that people are putting antibiotics and hormones, but you have a choice. You can get hormone-free, you can get range-free this, range-free that has none of those stipulations on it. So you have choices. It may cost you a little bit more, but you have choices. The real things that we do to each other with estrogens and things of that, which are hormonal variants that increase the size of the various poultry products or even beef products, they have an effect on what we do, and we should be respectful for it and get away from it. But in it itself is not the true situation. The true problem that hurts us is caloric intake more than the estrogens and the antibiotics. So if we take that muscle down chicken wing, like you just stated, and eat it, it is not as bad to eat that one wing, but to eat 20 is a problem, black people. That's where your problem is, caloric intake. Anyone been to Europe? I talk about this in the office and teach my students all the time. When you go to Europe, you go into a house. You ain't gonna see no Samsung with 2 sides. You ain't gonna see like grandmama got that freezer in the basement, and at that basement freezer, they got all that meat that you remember. Used to order that meat, they come and deliver it. You got 400 damn steaks, you got some beef, all in that basement. We got too much gluttonous behavior, people. That's your problem. You push back from that table, and those things that we find are problematic in our foods, which should be cleared up. I'm not saying it's not, but your problem is glutton behavior. You've taken in too much calories. I tell everybody this. The number one reason you couldn't get in the army in 1940 when World War II was going on was you were too skinny. Hear what I just said? Too skinny. 2024, the number one reason you can't be allowed in the service is you're too fat. Did your genetics change? No, your socialization changed. You took on a glutton behavior, and glutton behavior comes from stress. You eat because you're stressed. If I take away your stress, you don't eat as much. You understand me? That's the key. Change your caloric intake. All this Ozempic nonsense is out here. These doctors putting poison in these people's body, but you'll take that, but you worry about some estrogen in the darn chicken.
What's Ozempic? I thought that has to do with weight.
Yeah, but it's a diabetic-based drug. Now it's gone into weight, and everybody's gone crazy. You can't keep it in the daggone pharmacies. You want to be injected. No, you don't need to be injected. You need to be up and injected in your mind to get up and exercise one, which is not a weight loss tool. But you need to also teach your people to push away from the table, which is a sociological tool. Don't excuse bad behavior. That's why I said earlier, when you got that woke mentality and you band-aided with the wrong cure, you are creating more of a problem. And so that's what we do right now. We create more of a problem than fix it because we're not changing sociological dysfunction. You're changing in a health situation with made-up diseases, which these doctors do every day with obesity and hypertension and all this. Those are real things, but they come from sociological problems. Change your stress, your blood pressure come down. Everybody knows it. You go to Roland Park and you live on Fulton, because Fulton lives to be 69, Roland Park lives to be 89. If I take a Fulton person and be adopted by a Roland Park, his health changes overnight. Why? Because I changed his sociological condition. I changed his stress.
And you don't have liquor stores on every corner and fried spots, fried
Come
chicken.
on, baby. Come on with it. You're saying everything I'm saying. And each one of those fried spots, not the fried spot, is that you eat too much of the fried food. Not that the fried food is a bad thing. You taking in 4,000 calories a day when you only should be doing 1,500 to 2,000. Change your intake. Let those places be in your communities or not. And no one should be out here drinking like this. But we love it so much, you legalize marijuana, son. And I'm not here against people smoking weed. But when you continue to make accessibility to things that give you mental issues, where it deadens your viewpoint of how we function in the world, that's a problem. You made a problem with alcohol. You wouldn't have a DUI if you didn't have an alcoholic drink, would you?
No.
That's what I'm trying to get you. You got a sad people and give them substance to then null their sadness, but you don't take care of their sadness, and your doctors are not equipped. Your mental health system is a joke. You decentralize everything, have them homeless sitting on the corner. Where's the damn mental hospitals we had? There ain't no Shepherd, ain't no Spring Groves and Rosewood and all this stuff we used to have. You decentralized it and did not put the Band-Aid over the right abrasion. And we suffer for it, son. We suffer for it. We don't have enough to take care of the things that we're creating. Is mental stress, baby. America is a mental metastasis.
Black men make up 39% of the people in prison, but we as a collective are only 13% of the population. America has 5% of the world's population, but 25% of the inmates. People you and I grew up with, black men, can talk more about doing a prison bit than they can being on a college campus.
You're very
Mass
true.
incarceration. Your thoughts?
Mass incarceration is an absolute joke. And it's not that they built prisons to put us in, but they did build prisons to put us in. You get my point? Once you sit back and give a profit to something, then you feel that profit margin with anything. But it's the same thing I just talked about obesity. When you got a situation that is sociologically inept, which it is, and you don't fix it, you create more of that problem. You just create to put more people in prisons with the reformers that we just put together. You want to take a younger person, put him in the system to try to fix the problems that he had before he left his home in the morning. So that's more people going into the system. So we treat sociological processes that then feed a system, but yet have no endpoint. A life or death sentence does not stop somebody from murdering. In fact, if you look at the murder rate, you don't have a point of resettling any of these murders. It actually looks good to murder someone. You ain't got no 90% rate. You barely can catch half the suckers. So what I'm saying to you, we have got to fix society so it does not feed it. That's when you educate your population of your children so they don't carjack and ain't a part of the system. And you get them an educational milieu so they can reason themselves to a better place. You won't fill your jail when you bring your conditions of life up. You don't see it, and you said it. I can put black people in Roland Park. They don't go to jail. And that's a part of what I'm talking about. Even we talk about Westmore, and I'm not negative. We wonder if we got a black government, but Westmore grew out of Guilford. Does anybody know he lived in Guilford? Guilford is the richest place in Baltimore City, people, but we don't talk about it. How did you get the richest place, but you call yourself a public servant? Oprah called my brother a public servant. And I love my brother, but that ain't no public servant. A public servant, they'll make $1 million a year from the Robert Hood Foundation, supposed to help poor people, but we didn't do that. That's a problem to me. You got
we can't be critical of an African American, certainly not the first African American governor, can we?
You can't. I can. I look.
Yeah, I can.
I talk real.
Well,
I talk real.
He told me when I went to his home for Black History Month that I've been critical, and I really didn't crack on him. I didn't. I just thought I was saying the truth.
And that's true. And you were, Donnie. And you got to speak the truth. I'm not bad at West. I said we as a public have to understand. Didn't I say we didn't have knowledge? You got to have knowledge. I'm not saying, here, answer the question, son, so I can humble you to the point where you can look out for those that are underserved. You got what I'm saying? We sit here.
The one thing I love about Sheila,
yes,
is that she can walk anywhere in this city.
Right. That is a true statement.
She can walk and I mean walk down the street and people know it. You got people running in this mayor's race and people wouldn't recognize them if they walked down the street. You could recognize Hogan and you would catch Hogan walking down the street.
That's right.
But sometimes, and this is not a plug at all for the Orange Man. I'm anti-Orange Man. But I do like the fact that under Ehrlich, under Hogan, schools like Coppin got money.
Right.
That they never got from our own Democrats.
A lot of that is a falsehood. I'm not saying anything against you, but actually the biggest thing when people talk about Trump gave stuff to HBCs is
not Trump.
Yeah, Trump ain't did a daggone thing for anything. But other ones did. Hogan to me is a ubiquitous independent. He's not a Republican. And I wish he would take that moniker from him. We all like Hogan because Hogan was good for all people. I know I did most of the COVID commercials for his administration. I was out there singing the sign to protect black folk. I did stuff at his press conferences. So Hogan has no critique from me. And now he's really got a lot to be dealt with as we deal with the congressional races. But you are correct. We need to look at how we change some of the ways that we identify these situations. Some of these mayoral accounts, even though we don't know them, are from the neighborhood. You know, they are some people we need to listen to. And I've always advocated and said to some of the candidates so far, you need to really create a governing board with a lot of people from the hood who run for office, who have great ideas, who don't have the financial wherewithal to run with the top 4 or 5. And it shouldn't be that money dictates our mayor. It should be the cause and effect of what you're going to do for our communities. Listen, from the bike lanes to the Roland Park health disparities from 89 to 69, you got to be sensitive to have people such as me, what you do on this show, and on that board of conversation to help you learn how to set public policy. You can't keep going to these daggone Hopkins in Maryland. They've been there forever, talk all this diversity, go back and talk all this DEI, which is the diversity and inclusion processes. Yeah, but you ain't changing nothing. Black faces throughout. You ain't got Levi Watkins anymore.
Could you tell black people who are in position, maybe even in gatekeeper positions, but African American, can you tell African Americans who've been elevated to certain positions that white people said it's okay to open the door and let your other brothers and sisters in? Can you put that PSA out there for me?
That's right, baby. Stop not liking poor people. You said it. You got it on your show board. I'm so glad you got that little sound bite. You are correct, but you got to want one thing. You don't have to continue this plantation mentality to say it's okay to filth the field they grow. Okay, that's what you got to get out of it. That's why I said when you didn't get that 40 acre to mule and let it take off, you created the field thought process and the field Negro against the house Negro, and we work from a house Negro. And you don't understand it because you don't want to talk about it. When you took Aunt Jemima from her bottle, you thought it was bad. I ain't never thought Aunt Jemima was a slave. She was my grandmother that made my pancakes taste good. So I don't care what your BLM wants. You got bamboozled, people. All right? Where are all the actions of the black people who stood up for blackdom to help initiate this whitewashing of all the past? You can't whitewash a white man that shot black people. You can't wash out a Confederate daggone monument. No matter how much you take them and store them, the mentality is still there. Trump shows you that. All you let the people not burn the crosses in the front yard and they burn them in the back. You've been bamboozled, people. They still got the Klan. The Klan mentality is there. Trump shows you that. And 75 million people voted for that mess. I love Robert De Niro because he's a white man critiquing the white infrastructure because he calls Trump out and he says it's the vernacular to say that. He wonders how can it be that many stupid people? And that's what we're talking. So black folk, get out of saying it's okay for Thomas Jefferson to have Sally in a room stuck in a house and he fathers children by her and you think it's okay. So you then let that power structure go on and incorporate that in your lives. Get out the house and go join Harriet Tubman and show how somebody can get to freedom. And like Harriet said, I did 700, but I'd have done more if I could understand they were slaves.
Now, Doc, you said that, and I wrote that on Facebook, and darn if Facebook didn't come after me. You know, I had a page with about 200,000 people on it, and
Get
they
out
took
here.
it. Yeah, they took it because that was one of the things I said. Now, they say the quote is not her quote, but she freed, according to Wikipedia for one,
Right.
technically 72 people by herself. But
Right.
what they leave out is she freed nearly 800
Right.
with the help of the Union Army down in South Carolina at the Combahee River.
There you go, baby.
But people want to tell us our history. Let me ask you this, Doc. Do you have Native American, Indigenous American in your DNA?
No question. All through Carolina.
But when you go to Ancestry.com, and I got the test box right here, they don't have any category for blacks with Native American, Indigenous blood. So how can they tell me who I am? My daddy say great-grandma was a Blackfoot Indian. I saw her picture. She's looking real stoic.
Right.
And so many more of us. But people like Skip Gates at Harvard say only 2 to 3% of African Americans have indigenous blood. I'm like, so you took all of these people's DNA and checked it out.
Right. That's where you get the bias of statistics. You see what I'm saying to you? You're right. That's the wokeness I'm talking about, coming out with the wrong information. You see? So Skip Gates, wonderful. Go look at Ancestry. But don't, because you didn't find it, don't go talk about it. Donnie got and it's your family. It should be discussed whether it's genetically there or we looked at you or not. That's irrelevant. This is what's told to me, just like you said, the story of what you said with Harry. That make a difference if it's true, because it's symbolic. We just saw the 10 Commandments this weekend. All that ain't true either. Okay.
Oh my God. But I can't believe I watched it.
Huh?
I can't believe I watched it.
Baby, I'm watching it with you because it's just a part of what I do. Because guess why I'm looking at it? I'm looking at it because I see the same condition that is mirrored, whether true or not, in my day-to-day. Because we are the Hebrews.
Yeah, they got Charlton Heston up in there.
What you say?
Charlton Heston all up in the tent. I'm like, oh man.
That's amazing. But we all up in there to this day. We're doing the same kind of things where we don't legitimize poor slave people. We sit back and throw mud on them and let them try to make bricks from straw without the straw. And so,
never know. A poor black person might save your life one day.
And that's why I don't lose a dichotomy between them all. I respect every person here, but I will critique the system. It's the same thing with Maryland. And I don't want to get into any deep transgender situation, but I don't care what you say. Maryland refuses to put a woman in sports act. That makes Title IX look like a joke. What's wrong with you,
How can a woman compete against somebody born a man?
That's right. I tell everybody, if Usain Bolt turned to a woman tomorrow, you think it's right for him to run in the Olympics against women? Are you insane? I don't even know where your brain is. Okay, where is your brain? That's ridiculous. Change the law now. Women work with women, men with men. That's why you don't hear when women turn to men, because they're not going to be a competitive force. You don't hear nobody even talking about it. So if you're not talking about that, you're unfair to talk about it in the other direction, because you're not equally yoking the argument. I can fix the problem anytime you want to. It's ridiculous, the conversation. That's what I said. Democrats, you talk in a wokeness that ain't even logically woke.
My challenge with the blacks in that LGBTQ movement is the blacks are there until they get across the finish line, and then they revert back to the same old racist ways.
Tell you, Dottie, it's a joke. It's an emotional bamboozlement. We need to get a core value change. And that core value changes when you set a benchmark for schools. And it ain't worried about whether Sondelise is the head or who's the head. Because even when Alfonso was there, it didn't make a difference. We have a poor system to educate. An uneducated mind cannot synthesize data in any situation.
That guy Alonzo, Andres Alonzo got rid of 75% of the principals. He got rid of all of those big mamas who were principals. He got rid of them black women who loved.
Yes.
Malcolm X said you can't serve a people if you don't love a people. I don't think the Teach for America white ladies gonna love our black children like black women. I just don't think it. I've never gotten evidence to make me think it.
Right. And I'm with you fully. And I think the evidence is true. What do we see now? A total deterioration in socioeconomic fiber of our young people to this day.
And guns in school.
Don't even talk about it. We can fix the gun problem like Japan did. Outlaw the damn things and stop playing games. You cannot, like a sick mind, you wouldn't have put guns in the hands of people at Spring Grove because they cannot synthesize. And when they have a moment of psychological dysfunction, they pick up something in their inner life needlessly because I gave a tool of hatred and death to somebody who should not have it. This country is too sick to have its mentality that way. The Bobbies in England, let me educate everybody, don't carry guns. When you walk into the bank robber, he says, oh, you caught me, and puts his hand up. Not in America, because you bred a Western thought process, wild, wild West, that you use guns to settle your thing. And you cannot allow this country. So that even though we may not be able to do it, you have to open up the conversation. We need to rid ourselves of guns, period. Hell with the gun range, hell with your hunting. You have a society that is sick, and it's getting sicker. That's why the young lady... Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I said, that's why the young lady who got the 13-year-old took her car keys out here at Arundel Mills the other day at the McDonald's was scared to pop that little suck upside his head. He acted like he had a gun. You know, back when we were younger, if I saw a 13-year-old try to do anything, I'd have yanked his little self by his neck and gave him what his mama should have done. A spanking, or he's going to get my mouth, said something to you. And it ain't got to be if you're scared about physical contact, but you need to have a way of inciting discipline into your people. And you need to be able to pull folk up, and I shouldn't have a fear of dying.
We're scared.
Because I want to correct you.
We are scared of our
Scared
children.
as heck, baby.
We're scared of our children.
You are true. I know every time I walk out here from Sandtown, I think different than I did 30 years ago when I came. I think different. I look around that alley. I look around everywhere.
I got one son, Doc. I got one son and one daughter. And the day I'm scared of them is the day I need to go home and meet,
that is a true statement.
And meet my maker. Because I refuse. What your daddy tell you? I brought you in this world, and I'll take you out. The day I'm afraid of my child is the day you need to take me home to the king.
And I think you bring a good point, because if you go back to the Garwin days, and I used to go do house calls. You don't see no doctors doing house calls much now. But Dad would go out there until we go to the projects, the high rises, baby. And I'll be in the car because I was the oldest, and he's hit me out there. And I'll be sitting out sometime waiting. When the hell is he coming out? He'd be up there an hour. And then he'd come out and say, boy, what's wrong? You look scared. I said, I was scared out here on the street there. Well, I thought somebody was going to get me. He said, hold up, son. Let me tell you something. You see the guy up there in that Eldorado with the big hat and the fur coat? I said, I see it. That's the pusher. When I walk in that building, if somebody touches me, they answer to him. See, that's the code of criminality that you don't have. I didn't say he was right by what he did, but he won't let no one down the people who helping the people that he is causing harm to. So he says, son, when I see you in this car, he wouldn't let a flea touch your back. Because if they talk and hurt you, they answer to him. You don't have that discipline of even the worst of the worst anymore. Because now if grandma walks across, we shoot at the whole street, kids, 2-year-olds shot. You would never seen that. We've lost our humanity, Donnie. It is from the home. It is from the school. It is across the board and has to change. And it's from us as doctors that need to reorient what we call a health problem. Your health problem is stress and socioeconomic deprivation. And you need to be talking about it in the school and get a job to your patients, just like I did that young lady I told you about earlier.
Our black women are increasingly making more money, and social media got them taking off all their clothes.
Oh, Jesus, don't get me started.
I got to get you started, Doc.
Don't get me started. That is one of the things, again, I talk about every day in the office. I'm going to say it to you, black folk. BBLs, Brazilian butt lifts, stop it. The most dangerous surgery out. I've had 2 patients of mine who got infections from it, had to put them in a hospital. And what are you doing? Because I went back to look. Before the internet and the shake your booty in your face and get a man syndrome, there were hardly no BBLs. So don't tell me it's not sociological. You're trying to buy a relationship that uses the humanity and the sensitivity of a relationship. And so when you go and write saying we shaking our booties, been out here, it is that. That's always been. Now it's so instantaneous, it changes your mindset because now you have culture fixing up how you see yourself. When you do that, you have low self-esteem and you have insecurity.
Doc, I saw one politician on TV. The fake eyelashes were so heavy you couldn't even see the eyes open.
That's right.
I thought she had some heroin up in or something. I'm like, open your eyes up.
I got you. They so long, sometimes they look like awnings to keep the sun out, baby. I don't know what the heck's going on. But that's what we're saying. Whether it's a BBL or changing your image with filters or doing anything to look good on a social media is a problem for your self-identification and your internal power. You're not Harriet Tubman looked like nothing, but she was a powerful woman. A woman that even the Jacob military gave you. I love some Harriet Tubman story because she shows you the power of what you can do. Ain't got nothing to do with a man or a woman. And I'm tired of this thing that we got to say in this community. Black women have been raising strong black men by themselves for decades. Stop acting like you can't have a single parent home and don't be vilifying it for everything it can do. If it gives you a decent moral value, I don't care if your daddy leads it or your mama or both, you should end at the same place. A woman doesn't make a person turn gay or turn into something that he's not. Your genes say it's testosterone, and I teach you how to care about you by emulating what you should do. That's why when people come into my office, I say, don't raise your children. We got to raise them. No, you raise yourself. Because when you raise you and you take the challenges of thought and emotion on, and you change as a person who can walk the good walk, then your child comes along for the ride. You got to get out and set the example, people. We as a society are not selling an example when you take our society, our communities, and strip them of its power, such as what we talked about in Ashburn when the mayor and the doctor and the preacher was there. That's the power that sets the standard for your child to be able to move to a positive place and not continue to be vilified by a system such as our public school system that is failing them every day when they can't read, write, or think. When you can't read at a third grade level in your 12th grade, you cannot think, people. You can't rationalize. That's why a mother, a child, and his daddy went into Carver to pistol whip somebody. People understand me. You can't stop telling that story. That's social determination. You would never see a family affair to go pistol whip a person, and the kid got his own gun, and you told him to get it. Then somebody falls out to school, shoots at you, you shoot back at them, the gun falls out, somebody jumps from the bush and steals the gun. That's social deterioration. And it ain't been talked enough about by Sandy Lease or anybody in this city about what went on with that. It's the same thing as the squeegee kids. Yeah, you got them off the street, but you took them into a place to reward bad behavior. Nobody had a problem with a squeegee kid if he was courteous. The only problem you had with him because he was not courteous and act like a jackbutt. But when the man comes to me and says, hello, sir, can I do your window? And I say no, then he walks away and says, have a good day. We would never have a problem. But you took the suckers down North Avenue and gave him a job and $200 damn and think you rewarded bad behavior. That's why I said, Donnie, we putting cures in the wrong spot. We have to stop it. And doctors, you need to be a part of it and stop sitting in a passive fashion when you know what I'm saying, because people tell you every day, stress is the number one health problem. Where you think that stress comes is called from one S thing, the USA. We are destroying ourselves, Johnny. And we are
I got 7 more minutes with you.
Go for it, baby.
Fox 45 Baltimore and AI. Can we cover them 2 topics?
No, anything you want, baby.
Fox 45. They outwork the competition, but they loop the same old negative black self-hatred news over and over and over. And Lord, don't let them find a willing black participant, because they'll take those words and put the spin that Olivia Pope can never think of.
That's right. And that's why
what's up with Fox? And Fox now controls not just the TV station, but Smith and Armstrong now got the Baltimore Sun. Right. Can you talk to me about the power of white media on a 63% black city?
That's where we have to learn to make our stance and put a line in the sand. And though we sit back and we love Sheila and she incorporates herself into the system of our lives and can walk amongst us, whenever you align yourself with that type of alienated conversation, there's a problem. So she has to watch that as she runs for mayor. because Sinclair Broadcasting and Smith are backing her. That means I wonder where your agendas may be if you get into office. And don't get me wrong, she's a Northwestern graduate. I support her fully. I support loads of these candidates, but we cannot buy ourselves out and put ourselves back into the arms of the plantation.
But they robbed her twice when she went the other way. This
I
is
know,
probably
and guess what? You're gonna have to tiptoe around it, but that is a hard situation unless they change the case. So that's why we're bringing it up. We bring it up because there's a lot of false reporting, and when that narrative gets into power, it starts giving you, again, as I said, a narrative that you internalize and may change how you realize.
That's when I watch Kyle Jackson on that Fox 45 and some of the stuff that comes out of his mouth, I say to myself, one, I could not do that job. I thank God I built my own platform.
Very hard.
But what happens to us in that when you're in a position of a Kai?
It's the same thing. It's the mentality. He's now in a culture of racist thought process. And so Kai is not the same voice that was on the traditional TV. I think it was on 2 before. So, but if Kai, he cannot accept that spot.
He was on 13.
13,
Kai was on 13.
13 then. So the point being is, Kai, guess what? He can't take the job. And we don't do that. But we did it before. You got to learn how to turn down things that are morally incorrect and walk with a side act out your neck conversation. And that's what we got, Doni. We got to stop this nonsense.
Artificial intelligence. Are we
getting lazy? AI is your death sentence. Go ahead and wait. Arnold Schwarzenegger will be at your house very soon with the Terminator. Because when you give AI a control over your community, you basically have okay death. So stop the stupid conversations. AI need to be watched. But once it starts making your everyday decisions, I already told you, got a warped mind. If it's not using your intelligence, you become templated and algorithm down to watch and walk your way through the same thing that has been programmed in the AI. So don't look at it as a panacea. Yeah, it can do your job, but it's taking your job. It's not only taking your job, it's taking your soul, it's taking your spirit, it's taking your intelligence. And we can ill afford it as a society, but you've made a very bad decision. No different than when Kai from 13 to 45 did. It changes his blackdom, his conversation. No matter what he can say off the news, AI is making you say it on your day-to-day functioning, and it will destroy, and I'm saying it right there on this show, it will destroy us as a society. Hear me now, hear me later, hear me all the time. We are killing ourselves, and you will see Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Doc, where's your new office?
New office is at 2605 Bannister Road. I don't like to call it new because what we did was throw me out of a castle I built for Black people. But during the pandemic, nobody came to see the doctor for a year and a half. No matter, and you know I'm well connected, but I could not continue to keep an office that was hard for me to afford before open at that time. So I moved to someone, and I'm just pleased to even have a place for my people to go. But it's not new. It's just a place. I feel like I'm like Moses thrown out in the desert trying to lead the Hebrews home, brother. But I tell you what, I'll walk the burning sands. I'll walk without water or anything else. If it's anything to help my people have a place to go and continue to hear my voice, and I can provide care. So I'm there, and I will do everything to change that. But we can change it if somebody funds me and we get things done. We got to do it.
Any final thoughts, Dr. Michael Zollicoffer?
It is time to change, people. Wake up. Just wake up. Educate yourselves. And if you can't educate those who have an education, you have to take the responsibility of feeding those who cannot think the way we should. And your thoughts should be centered around helping everybody get innate into nature, love from a nature's giving point, and not from man's bamboozlement and cultural biases. You will find an answer that is given to you beyond religion, beyond anything. You'll find that the Middle East is a little more confused than you can even synthesize. It's a different story. It's that no different than what we do day in here. We got to change it, people. Change it. Change the narrative by thinking, learning a motion of neutrality and love and compassion, and you will find the answer. It's only a short run we got. And while you running that race, fill it with the best and the grace of love and compassion to change who we are. Get back to
I do have one more question. Why are the Russians and the Chinese digging up the moon? Why are they putting a shovel and taking samples? I mean, I'm not a doctor like you, but God doggone it, that's the moon and that's the sun. Why are they digging up the moon?
digging up the moon because they just want to see they can do things. They need to be digging up a way that we can unite ourselves and get rid of the thing that's going to put us on the end of close to World War III with the Ukraine and the Russian mentality of Putin, which is an absolute fool, and so does Xi of China. Stop stupidity. That's just a gameplay and a side bet. Don't get lost in it, Donnie. They're digging up the moon because they won't dig up what they need to do. It's a way that we unite this country and this world so it can take care of people in a positive note and not waste our time on some moon dust.
Dr. Z, thank you for joining us this morning.
You got it, brother. Donnie, we got to get it, baby.
Yes, sir. Up to day, down tomorrow, do your day and everything will follow. Nothing to it but to do it. I got to do it, regardless of how I feel. I am somebody. I am my brother's keeper. Good morning, world.
Later, y'all.
Yes, sir.